The alien princess despised humans, until one won her heart in battle. The sky above Zithuria was a swirl of violet clouds and golden sunlight, painting the horizon in colors that no human eyes had ever seen before. The planet's surface stretched out like a vast tapestry of jagged mountains, endless plains, and rivers that glowed faintly with bioluminescent algae. High above, a human fleet had appeared, small and seemingly fragile against the might of the Zithurian Empire. Yet even from orbit, the aliens sensed something different about these humans. There was a spark, a stubbornness that could not be ignored. Princess Lysara stood on the balcony of the Sky Citadel, the heart of Zithurian power. Her posture was straight, regal, and unyielding. Her long, silver hair shimmered in the alien sun as she surveyed the horizon. Her violet eyes, sharp and calculating, followed the movement of the small ships descending toward her planet. "Commander," she said to the officer beside her, "tell me again why humans are allowed to roam the galaxy at all. They are reckless, undisciplined. They should not even exist beyond their tiny world. They lack the discipline to understand real strategy. They will fail, just as all humans do when they face a greater power." The idea that such a fragile species could threaten Zithuria made her blood stir, not with fear, but with a challenge. Below, in the canyons where the human landing party had touched down, Commander Elias Kane was already assessing the situation. He had grown accustomed to strange planets, to the harsh beauty of worlds far from Earth, but Zithuria was different. Every ridge, every mountain seemed alive with intelligence, as if the planet itself watched their every move. Elias adjusted his tactical visor, scanning for patrols or hidden defenses. "Team, stay alert," he said into his communicator. "We don't know what we're walking into. Eyes sharp, weapons ready, but no shots unless necessary." They had trained for hostile encounters, but there was something intimidating about Zithuria. It wasn't just the landscape or the alien ships in orbit. It was the sense that they were being measured, judged, and perhaps underestimated. As the humans moved cautiously through the canyon, Lysara's personal squadron hovered silently above. Zithurian ships were elegant, built for speed and precision. Their armor glinted like polished metal, and their weapons emitted a soft hum that resonated with the planet itself. Lysara observed the humans from above, studying their formation and the way they advanced. "They are reckless," she said, her tone cold. "They move without thought for survival. They will make mistakes." The humans did not scatter when they encountered obstacles. They adapted quickly, changing formation, using the terrain to their advantage. One human soldier, a scout, disappeared behind a boulder only to reappear moments later with a device that scanned for alien defenses. Lysara's eyebrows lifted. This was not ordinary human behavior. Most species would have panicked or retreated by now. But these humans, they were learning, thinking, and surviving. A flicker of respect ignited in her heart, though she refused to admit it. The first clash came swiftly. A small group of Zithurian drones swooped down to intercept the humans. Their weapons glowed with energy, and their movements were precise, almost too fast for the human eye to follow. Yet Elias and his team were ready. "Hold fire until they're close," Elias ordered. "Wait for the perfect moment." She had expected a swift victory, a demonstration of Zithurian superiority. Instead, she witnessed humans surviving attacks that should have destroyed them. Their coordination was unusual, almost instinctual, and their courage was undeniable. She clenched her hands behind her back. "This is interesting," she murmured, barely aloud. "Perhaps more interesting than I anticipated." Lysara felt something she had never experienced before in battle, a mix of frustration and fascination. She had always believed that no human could match Zithurian skill, yet these creatures defied expectation at every turn. Elias, sensing that he was being observed, glanced upward briefly. Through the visor he caught a glimpse of a figure watching from the citadel balcony, a woman with silver hair and an aura of command. Something about her presence was intimidating, yet oddly compelling. He focused back on the battle. Curiosity aside, his mission was survival. Hours passed, and the skirmish reached a critical point. The humans were cornered in a narrow gorge, and Zethurian forces began closing in. Elias could feel the weight of his team's exhaustion, but he also knew they had an advantage that the aliens could not predict: creativity. "Listen," he said quietly to his team, "they expect us to fight like they do. We don't. Use the canyon, use the rocks. Make them fall into their own traps." They were unpredictable, intelligent, and against all her beliefs worthy of observation. She summoned her closest advisors. "Prepare the ceremonial arena," she commanded. "I will deal with this human directly. If he wishes to challenge Zethuria, he will face me." It was unheard of for a princess to personally face a human, yet there was no denying the results of the skirmish. Lysara was serious. The humans had shown potential, and she wanted to see it firsthand. Elias, unaware of the princess's decision, led his team to a temporary safe zone. He knew this planet was full of dangers, but something about Zethuria's defenders suggested that the real challenge was yet to come. The night fell, and the alien sun disappeared behind the mountains. Lysara stood alone on the balcony once more, the wind whipping her hair around her face. She thought about the humans, about the way they fought, about the courage and intelligence they had displayed. "They are different," she whispered. "Perhaps not as weak as I believed, perhaps stronger than I imagined." Still, the idea lingered. One human, a single commander, had captured her attention. Not for love, not yet, but for something equally potent: respect earned in battle. The next day, word reached Elias and his team. Zethurian messengers appeared, bringing a challenge. The princess demanded a duel, a formal, ceremonial battle between Elias and Lysara herself. Elias studied the message, understanding the weight of the request. It was unusual, risky, but it also presented an opportunity to prove humanity's worth beyond survival. He nodded to his team. "Prepare for the arena. This will be the first of many steps toward understanding them, and maybe, just maybe, toward winning their respect." She trained for hours, perfecting her movements, studying the humans, tactics in the skirmish, and thinking about the duel ahead. She did not yet respect Elias personally, but she respected what he represented: a human mind capable of challenging her in ways few beings ever could. The day of the duel arrived. The ceremonial arena was vast, a natural canyon widened for the purpose of combat. Crowds gathered: Zethurian nobles, soldiers, and the human team who watched cautiously from their side. The air was tense, electric, charged with anticipation. Elias stepped forward first, his posture confident but respectful. He did not underestimate Lysara, knowing that her skill was unmatched on this planet. He had survived because he adapted, because he thought differently, and he would need all of that to face her. Lysara entered the arena with grace and authority. Her movements were precise, her gaze unwavering. She acknowledged Elias with a nod, the smallest sign of respect she could allow herself. The duel began. They circled, testing each other, probing for weakness. Lysara struck first, fast and precise, her weapon slicing through the air with deadly elegance. Elias dodged, countered, adapted. He did not match her strength, but he matched her strategy, turning her attacks into opportunities. Minutes passed like hours. Each strike, each movement, revealed something about the other. Lysara began to see beyond the human stereotype of weakness. Elias was clever, fast-thinking, and calm under pressure. His mind worked differently, and that difference was powerful. The crowd watched in silence, captivated. The duel was not just a test of strength, but of intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Both combatants demonstrated their species' finest qualities, and the battle became a lesson in mutual respect. When the duel ended in a stalemate, neither defeated, Lysara felt a strange satisfaction. She had found a worthy opponent, someone who forced her to reconsider her beliefs. She did not smile, but inside, a small spark of admiration had been lit. Elias, breathing heavily but steady, understood that he had earned something too: not trust, not friendship yet, but recognition. The human race, through him, had taken its first step toward earning respect on Zithuria. The first chapter of this interstellar story closed with tension, curiosity, and the promise of what was to come. Two very different beings had clashed, learned from each other, and survived. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity had begun to make its mark, and Princess Lysara had begun to see them in a new light. The ceremonial arena was alive with anticipation. The natural canyon had been widened and reinforced for the duel, transforming it into a stage that blended raw beauty with a deadly sense of danger. Spectators from both species lined the edges of the cliffs above, their eyes fixed on the center where destiny itself seemed to hover. For the humans, it was an unusual mix of fear and excitement. For the Zithurians, pride and curiosity mingled in equal measure. Elias Kane stepped into the arena with measured calm. Every muscle in his body was tense, every sense alert. He had faced dangerous worlds and hostile species before, but there was something different about this duel. He was not merely fighting to survive. He was fighting to prove that humanity, often underestimated and mocked across the galaxy, could stand toe-to-toe with one of the most disciplined and powerful species in existence. Across from him, Princess Lysara moved with elegance and authority. Her silver hair shimmered even under the pale light of Zithuria's dual suns, and her violet eyes locked on Elia's with intensity. She was a master of combat, trained from birth to dominate in battle. Every movement, every gesture, radiated confidence. Yet, beneath her composed exterior, a flicker of curiosity stirred. This human, small, fragile, and seemingly ordinary, had survived her defenses with cunning and courage. She had never faced a foe quite like him. The two combatants bowed slightly to each other, an acknowledgement of honor that transcended species. Then, the duel began. Lysara struck first, moving like a blade of silver lightning. Her weapon, a long, slender staff that could emit bursts of energy, hummed with lethal potential. Elias barely dodged, rolling to the side as the energy crackled past. He countered with his own weapon, a compact plasma blade, carefully designed for both defense and adaptability. The first exchange was quick, precise, and deadly. Elias could feel the weight of the crowd's gaze, but he pushed it aside. Focus was everything. He studied Lysara's movements, noticing the subtle rhythm in her attacks. She was fast, aggressive, and precise, but predictable if one paid attention. Humans thrived on adaptability, and he intended to use it. Lysara's strikes came in rapid succession, each one testing his reaction time. She expected a human to falter, to make a single fatal mistake, but Elias flowed with the attack. He blocked, parried, and sidestepped, turning her momentum into openings of his own. One of his blades tapped her weapon in a clash of sparks, sending a shockwave across the arena. The crowd gasped. Humans were not known for strength, yet he had matched her if only for a moment. Lysara's lips pressed into a thin line. She had underestimated him. Not in strength, he could not match her, but in cleverness, in the ability to think beyond the obvious. Humans were adaptive, and Elias was a living example. She intensified her attacks, forcing him to retreat, but she could sense that he was learning, adjusting to her every move. "Interesting," she murmured, almost to herself. "He is not like the others." Humans were creative, thinking in ways that rigid discipline could not always counter. The duel escalated. Dust and sparks flew as energy from their weapons collided, sending shockwaves through the canyon floor. Each strike, each movement was a conversation in action, a debate of skill, strategy, and determination. For the first time, Lysara felt exhilaration. This was no ordinary human. This was a mind that could challenge hers, and it thrilled her in ways she had not expected. Hours seemed to pass as they tested each other. Elias discovered that Lysara's strength was also her limitation. Her attacks were powerful but repetitive in pattern. By observing closely, he could anticipate her next move and counter with precision. In contrast, humans could improvise, adapt, and exploit openings that aliens might never consider. He used every skill he had learned in years of training to turn the duel into a battle of minds as well as bodies. The spectators were silent, captivated by the unfolding spectacle. This was not just a duel, it was a lesson in the essence of two species. Lysara with her superior physical prowess, and Elias with his unmatched adaptability and intellect, represented the pinnacle of their respective worlds. As the duel continued, a moment came when Lysara launched a particularly aggressive strike. Elias, predicting her movement, sidestepped and used her own energy against her. A surge of energy flared around them, and for a brief instant it seemed as though Lysara had faltered. The Zithurians gasped, shocked that a human could even come close to overpowering their princess. Lysara regained her stance immediately, but something had shifted inside her. She had expected fear, hesitation, maybe even incompetence. Instead, she found a calm, precise mind that matched her in a way few beings ever could. For the first time, she questioned her long-held prejudice against humans. Perhaps they were not weak after all. Perhaps they were something far more formidable. Elias, sensing the change in her demeanor, remained cautious. He knew better than to assume victory. Lysara was still stronger, faster, and more experienced in combat. But he also knew that humans had something the Zithurians often lacked: creativity, unpredictability, and the courage to face impossible odds. Minutes later, the duel shifted again. Lysara adapted, her movements becoming more fluid, less rigid, as she tried to anticipate Elia's unpredictable strikes. She realized that defeating him would not be as simple as brute force. She had to think, to adapt, to match his ingenuity. Elias noticed the change too. Her attacks became less predictable, more varied. The fight was no longer a simple test of skill. It had become a dance, a challenge of wits and reflexes. Each move carried a message, a silent communication of respect, acknowledgement, and understanding. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the arena. Both combatants were exhausted but unyielding. Neither had won, and neither had faltered. The crowd remained entranced, witnessing something rare and remarkable: two leaders, two warriors pushing each other to the limits of possibility. Finally, after hours of combat, Elias and Lysara paused. Their breathing was heavy, their bodies glistening with sweat and energy. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, a mutual recognition passing between them. Lysara spoke first, her voice steady but thoughtful. "You are unlike any human I have ever seen. Clever, resourceful, and courageous. I underestimated you. I see why your people revere you." It was not a sign of friendship, not yet, but it was a crack in the wall of her prejudice. She had faced a human, and she had survived, and learned. Elias had not only survived, but he had forced her to reconsider her assumptions, to see humanity in a new light. The audience erupted in muted applause, recognizing the significance of the moment. This duel had changed more than just the outcome of a skirmish. It had changed perceptions, challenged beliefs, and created the possibility of something new. As the sun finally set, casting a warm glow over the canyon, Lysara turned to Elias. "You have earned my respect, human. That is no small thing. Perhaps this is the beginning of understanding between our peoples." Both sides had seen a glimpse of what the other was capable of, and both had realized that there was more to learn. Elias and his team returned to their temporary camp, their spirits buoyed by the knowledge that humanity could not only survive but also inspire respect among one of the galaxy's most formidable species. Lysara, alone in her private chamber, reflected on the day's events. She had expected to see weakness and failure, but instead, she had seen courage, intelligence, and adaptability. A single human had challenged her beliefs and earned her attention. That alone was remarkable, and it left her wondering what other qualities humanity might possess. The night stretched on, quiet and contemplative. Stars glimmered in the alien sky, and both humans and Zithurians would sleep with thoughts of the duel lingering in their minds. A new respect had been established, fragile but undeniable. In the heart of Zithuria, Two very different beings had tested each other, learned from each other, and survived. The duel was more than a contest of strength. It was a meeting of minds, a challenge of wills, and a spark of possibility. And though neither would admit it aloud yet, both sensed that the galaxy had shifted in subtle, profound ways. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles, and new opportunities. But for now, Elia's Kane had proven that humans were not to be dismissed, and Princess Lysara had begun to see that the universe held more than her own expectations. Two warriors, two species, and a duel that would be remembered for generations. And somewhere deep within her, Lysara felt a flicker, a quiet, unacknowledged curiosity about the human who had won her respect in battle. The celebration of the duel's conclusion was brief. Zithuria's twin suns shone brightly over the canyon as the humans and Zithurians returned to their respective camps. The humans were exhilarated. They had survived an encounter that should have crushed them. They had proven, in no uncertain terms, that human ingenuity and courage could withstand one of the galaxy's most disciplined warriors. Lysara, however, did not celebrate. She walked through the corridors of the Sky Citadel, her thoughts heavy with reflection. Elia's Kane had shown her something she had not expected, that humans were adaptable, intelligent, and unyielding. She had always believed that humans were weak, impulsive, and inferior. Yet here they were, surviving, learning, and even challenging her in ways that few beings ever had. Her advisors approached cautiously, aware of her mood. "Your Highness," one said, "the human commander has performed remarkably. Perhaps he. Why can a species so small, so fragile, survive against beings far stronger and more disciplined?" Meanwhile, Elias and his team were reviewing the events of the duel. Their weapons had been intact, their formations effective, and their strategy sound. Yet, even as they celebrated their temporary victory, a warning arrived from the human fleet in orbit. A massive signal appeared on their sensors, an enemy approaching Zithuria at full speed. Elias frowned, studying the readings. "This is not a routine patrol," he muttered. "Sensors indicate a large, hostile force. They're moving fast and they're coordinated. Everyone prepare for battle." Every human knew the stakes. Failure here would not just cost their lives. It could mean the destruction of Zithuria itself, and perhaps humanity's opportunity to establish an alliance in this part of the galaxy. High above, in the Sky Citadel, Lysara's advisors delivered the same news. She listened quietly, her mind racing. The intruders were identified as the Shadrach, a ruthless alien species known for conquering worlds and enslaving populations. Their numbers were vast, their technology advanced, and their strategy merciless. Lysara's eyes narrowed. She had trained her entire life for such a challenge, but this was unlike anything she had faced. Even her disciplined warriors were untested against an enemy of this magnitude. Yet, as she considered her options, her thoughts returned to the humans. Elia's Kane had survived against her, against the odds. Perhaps humanity had a role to play in facing this new threat. She made her decision swiftly. "Send word to the human commander," she instructed. "We must unite if Zithuria is to survive. Alone we will fall. Together we have a chance." The humans and Zithurians met in a neutral location, a plateau overlooking the canyon where the duel had taken place. Tension lingered in the air. Mutual respect had been established, but trust was still tentative. Lysara stood at the front of her forces, her eyes on Elias. "You survived the duel," she said, her tone even but sharp. "I respect your skill. But this enemy does not fight with honor. They do not adhere to rules or codes. They will overwhelm us if we act independently." Discipline and strength paired with unpredictability and adaptation. The humans proposed unconventional tactics, guerrilla maneuvers, traps using the canyon terrain, and small squads striking at key points in the enemy formation. The Zithurians, in turn, offered brute force, precise formations, and energy-based weapons that could crush smaller fleets with terrifying efficiency. Elias suggested blending their approaches. Small human teams could infiltrate enemy lines, disabling key machinery, while Zithurian warriors struck at the main force, forcing them to react. Lysara approved, though she insisted on overseeing the operations herself. She needed to see the humans' methods in action and perhaps learn from them. As preparations continued, Elias took a moment to observe Lysara. She was not just a warrior, she was a leader, a strategist, and someone who inspired loyalty. Yet there was still a wall between them, built from centuries of prejudice and expectation. He wondered if this wall could be broken, not just in battle, but in understanding. The first encounter with the Shadrach came swiftly. A scouting fleet approached the canyon, moving with mechanical precision and deadly intent. Human sensors detected them first, and small squads were deployed to intercept. The initial skirmish was tense. Energy pulses lit the canyon walls, and shadows danced as humans and Zithurians coordinated attacks. Elias led a squad through a narrow pass, using boulders and natural formations as cover. His team moved with quiet efficiency, placing explosives and setting traps. Each human action was calculated, designed to confuse and delay the enemy. Above, Lysara commanded her warriors with precision. She anticipated enemy movements, predicting their responses to the humans' traps. Together, the two forces created a deadly combination, predictable power fused with unpredictable strategy. The Shadrach were caught off guard. Their advanced technology could not fully compensate for the humans' clever tactics and the Zithurians' disciplined strikes. The enemy fleet faltered, giving the defenders a small but crucial advantage. Lysara could not help but feel a surge of respect for Elias and his team. Their courage, ingenuity, and willingness to adapt reminded her of the very traits she had once dismissed as weaknesses. Yet, as she watched them work together, she realized something more profound. Humans had a heart that fueled their strength. They fought not just for survival, but for each other. The battle escalated. The Shadrach regrouped, sending larger forces into the canyon. Lysara and Elias coordinated with increasing intensity, blending human improvisation with Zithurian precision. Every strike, every maneuver was a test of trust, communication, and courage. At one critical moment, a Shadrach warship broke through the outer defenses, targeting a human squad. Elias and Lysara acted simultaneously. Elias led a counterattack, drawing the ship's attention, while Lysara's warriors fired precise energy bursts, crippling its engines. The human squad escaped unharmed. In that instant, Lysara saw something she had never admitted before. She was learning from humans. Their methods, their courage, and their determination were teaching her something new about strategy, leadership, and resilience. And she realized that her initial disdain for humans had been a mistake. They were not weak. They were strong in ways her people had never valued, strong in creativity, adaptability, and heart. As the battle continued, humans and Zithurians fought side by side, their cooperation growing with every encounter. Elias and Lysara moved among their forces, directing attacks, adapting strategies, and saving lives. Each time one saved the other, the bond between them deepened, not as friends yet, not as allies fully, but as warriors who recognized the worth in each other. The day drew to a close with the Shadrach forces retreating temporarily, regrouping for a larger assault. Both sides were exhausted but alive, and the temporary victory was hard-won. Humans and Zithurians alike recognized that they could not have achieved it alone. Lysara stood on a cliff overlooking the battlefield, her silver hair glinting in the fading sunlight. She looked at Elias, who was checking his team and preparing for the next encounter. He met her gaze, and for a moment the unspoken understanding passed between them. Humanity had earned respect through courage and ingenuity, and the aliens had learned that strength came in many forms. Elias approached her. "We held them off," he said quietly. "But this is only the beginning. They'll return stronger. Together." And as night fell over Zithuria, both sides prepared for the battles to come, knowing that their survival depended not just on strength or strategy, but on the ability to learn from one another. For Lysara, the day had changed everything. She had seen humans not as inferior, but as equals in spirit, courage, and intellect. For Elias, the day had proven that humanity could stand among the stars, not just surviving, but thriving. And in the quiet moments between the stars and the canyon, a bond began to form, one that would grow stronger in the battles yet to come. Tomorrow, the Shadrach would return. And when they did, humanity and Zithuria would face them not as separate species, but as allies united by respect, courage, and the shared determination to survive. The galaxy was vast, full of threats and challenges, but for the first time, two very different worlds had discovered that together, they could be stronger than any force that dared to threaten them. And somewhere in the quiet of the night, Lysara thought of Elias, not with disdain, but with a growing sense of curiosity and admiration. Perhaps, she realized, there was more to humans than she had ever imagined. Perhaps they were exactly what Zithuria needed to survive the trials ahead. The dawn broke over Zithuria with an eerie quiet. The twin suns cast long shadows across the canyon where humans and Zithurians had gathered, waiting for the inevitable return of the Shadrach. The ground was scarred from the previous day's skirmishes, smoke curling into the sky as a reminder of the power of the enemy. Yet, there was determination in the faces of both species. Humans and aliens alike had discovered a strange kind of harmony, an understanding that survival depended on cooperation. Princess Lysara stood at the forefront of her forces, her silver hair shimmering in the morning light. Her violet eyes scanned the horizon, taking in the humans' formations, the natural defenses of the canyon, and the positions of her own warriors. She had been impressed by the human commander, Elias Kane, during the duel, and even more by his leadership in yesterday's battle. Now, as the main confrontation loomed, she felt a strange mixture of anticipation and respect. Elias moved among his soldiers with calm authority, ensuring everyone understood their roles. His eyes met Lysara's briefly, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. Both knew this battle would test everything: strength, strategy, courage, and trust. The ground shook with the approach of the Shadrach fleet. Their ships were vast, dark, and menacing, gliding over the canyon like predators. Energy pulses flared from their weapons as they prepared to strike, and their numbers seemed endless. The humans and Zithurians braced for the assault. "Hold the line," Lysara commanded, her voice carrying across the battlefield. "Do not falter. We fight not just for ourselves, but for our future." Energy blasts illuminated the canyon, sending rocks and dust into the air. The humans took cover behind boulders and natural ridges, returning fire with plasma rifles and clever traps. Zithurian warriors moved with deadly elegance, their energy weapons cutting through enemy lines with perfect accuracy. Elias led a squad through a narrow pass, planting charges that would collapse part of the canyon and slow the enemy's advance. The humans worked seamlessly, their actions precise, their movements unpredictable. Lysara's warriors struck alongside them, their superior strength and agility creating openings for human strikes. At one point, a massive Shadrach walker approached a human squad. Its metal legs crushed the canyon floor, and its weapons discharged energy bolts indiscriminately. Elias and Lysara reacted instantly. Elias led his team in a coordinated attack from the side, drawing the walker's attention. Lysara struck from above, her energy staff cutting through critical circuits. The walker faltered, then collapsed with a thunderous crash. The human squad was safe. Lysara's eyes followed Elias as he moved through the battlefield, fearless and precise. He risked himself repeatedly, not for glory, but for his team and for the mission. She had always believed that humans were inferior, yet here was one showing courage and intelligence in equal measure. She found herself admiring him, though she did not allow herself to think too deeply about it. Respect, yes, but anything more was a distraction she could not afford. The battle raged for hours. Humans and Zithurians fought side by side, their cooperation growing stronger with every encounter. Small human squads infiltrated enemy lines, disabling weapons and sowing confusion. Zithurian warriors struck with devastating force, exploiting the openings created by human ingenuity. Together, they created a synergy neither species could achieve alone. Elias and Lysara continued to move through the battlefield together, coordinating attacks and saving lives. At one point, Elias found himself trapped beneath a fallen boulder, enemy fire closing in. Lysara appeared, slicing through the attackers with precise strikes and lifting the boulder with her strength. Elias looked up at her, a mixture of gratitude and admiration in his eyes. "You always seem to arrive just in time," he said, breathing heavily. Lysara smirked faintly. "I am not here for theatrics, human. I am here because you still have value on this battlefield." "I'll take that as a compliment." The Shadrach unleashed their largest weapon yet, a massive energy cannon capable of destroying entire sections of the canyon. Lysara immediately organized a counterattack. Humans set traps to disable the weapon's support systems, while Zithurians targeted its control panels. Elias led the infiltration team, narrowly avoiding patrols and energy turrets, using both strategy and courage to reach the cannon. Lysara engaged the main Shadrach forces directly, drawing attention away from Elias and his team. Her every strike was precise, calculated, and deadly. She moved like a storm across the battlefield, inspiring her troops and intimidating the enemy. Elias reached the cannon, planting charges and hacking into its systems. Sparks flew as energy shields failed and systems overloaded. The cannon erupted in a massive explosion, sending a shockwave across the canyon and disrupting the Shadrach's advance. The enemy faltered, their formations breaking under the coordinated human and Zithurian assault. For the first time, the Shadrach hesitated, unsure how to respond to the combined strategies of their prey. Lysara and Elias met at the center of the battlefield, both exhausted but unyielding. The canyon was scarred, smoke and dust rising from the ground, yet victory was within reach. Together, they led a final push, coordinating human ingenuity with Zithurian strength to drive the Shadrach into retreat. As the last of the enemy ships disappeared over the horizon, the battlefield fell silent except for the heavy breathing of survivors. Humans and Zithurians alike surveyed the destruction, realizing how close they had come to defeat and how far they had come by working together. Lysara turned to Elias, her expression a mixture of pride and acknowledgement. "You were remarkable," she said, her voice softer than usual. "Not just in battle, but in leadership. Humans are capable of much more than I believed. Together, we can face anything." The humans had proven their worth, not just through survival, but through ingenuity, courage, and leadership. The Zithurians had learned to respect the adaptability of another species, realizing that strength came in many forms. Lysara watched Elias as he coordinated the human teams, giving advice and encouragement. She felt a quiet admiration, a recognition of his qualities that went beyond physical skill. He was intelligent, courageous, and selfless, a combination that had earned her respect and subtly her curiosity. Elias, for his part, saw Lysara in a new light as well. She was not just a warrior or a princess. She was a leader who could inspire, adapt, and fight with precision and courage. He understood why her people followed her, and he realized that her respect had been earned not through words but through action. Night fell over the canyon, the stars reflecting off the bioluminescent rivers that wound through the valley. The humans and Zithurians camped side by side, sharing resources, tending to the wounded, and planning for future challenges. The bond between the species had deepened, fragile but undeniable. Lysara and Elias met privately, standing on a cliff overlooking the battlefield. The destruction and smoke of the day were a stark reminder of what they had faced, but also of what they had achieved. "You've changed my perspective," Lysara said quietly. "I no longer see humans as weak or unworthy. I see potential. And perhaps something more." And when they do, we must be ready. The battlefield had tested them, but it had also taught them valuable lessons: unity, trust, adaptability, and the true meaning of courage. For Lysara, the day had changed her understanding of humans. They were not weak, reckless, or inferior. They were strong in ways her people had often overlooked, strong in creativity, in adaptability, in heart. For Elias, the day had proven that humanity could not only survive among the stars but thrive, earning respect through courage and ingenuity. As dawn approached again, both looked toward the horizon, knowing that the war was not yet over. The Shadrach would return, more powerful and relentless than before. But humans and Zithurians would face them together, stronger for the bonds forged in the heat of battle. And somewhere deep within, Lysara felt a quiet certainty that the human who had won her respect in battle might also have earned a place in her thoughts, her admiration, and perhaps, in time, something closer to her heart. The morning sky over Zithuria was calm, almost serene, belying the chaos that had raged for days. The twin suns rose slowly, casting golden light over the scarred canyon where humans and Zithurians had fought side by side. The Shadrach, once an overwhelming force, had retreated after successive defeats, their ships smoldering in distant space as their fleet limped back to unknown regions. Princess Lysara stood on the cliff's edge, overlooking the battlefield. Her silver hair shimmered in the morning light, and her violet eyes reflected both relief and contemplation. The human commander, Elias Kane, stood beside her, surveying the field with quiet satisfaction. Together, they had led their forces to victory, a triumph that would be remembered across both species. The humans had proven themselves in countless ways. Courage, adaptability, and ingenuity had turned the tide of battle. The Zithurians, disciplined, precise, and powerful, had provided the foundation for strategy and execution. Alone, neither could have prevailed. Together, they had not only survived, they had conquered. Lysara turned to Elias, her expression unreadable but her eyes softening. "You and your people have done something extraordinary," she said. "You have changed the course of this battle, and perhaps the course of our history. Together, we made something neither of us could achieve alone." Yet, amidst the destruction, there was life. Humans tending to their wounded comrades, Zithurians assisting where needed, and both sides working side by side to restore order. Elias approached a group of human soldiers who had been trapped during the final wave. Using quick thinking and careful coordination, they had survived an otherwise deadly encounter. He patted them on the shoulder, pride in his voice. "You showed what it means to adapt under pressure. Humanity's strength isn't just in weapons, it's in courage, intelligence, and teamwork." The humans had not only proven themselves in battle, but had earned her respect in a way that words alone could not convey. As the day progressed, the leaders of both species gathered to discuss the aftermath. Communications with their fleets confirmed that the Shadrach were retreating far beyond reach, at least for now. The humans and Zithurians would need to remain vigilant, but the immediate threat had been neutralized. Lysara addressed the group, her voice carrying authority and pride. "Today, we have faced a threat that could have destroyed us, yet we stand, not as separate species, not as rivals, but as allies. Humans, you have earned the respect of my people. Your courage, ingenuity, and resolve have proven your worth. Your Highness, we fought for survival, yes, but also for understanding. Humanity is not here to conquer Zithuria. We are here to learn, to cooperate, and to build trust. Today has shown that we can achieve great things together. This is only the beginning." She had underestimated humans for centuries, and yet here they were, proving themselves in ways even she could not have imagined. Later, as the battlefield quieted, Lysara and Elias found themselves alone, walking through the canyon where so much had happened. The air was thick with dust and the faint smell of scorched metal, but there was also a sense of triumph. "You've changed my perspective," Lysara said quietly, her tone more personal than ever before. "I no longer see humans as weak or reckless. I see intelligence, courage, and heart. qualities my people often overlook but cannot be denied. I understand why your people follow you so loyally. There is a spark in humanity that I did not expect, and you embody it in ways that challenge everything I believed. You've taught me that strength is more than physical, it's heart, intelligence, and honor. The humans and Zethurians began repairing infrastructure, helping the wounded and restoring order. Camps were established side by side, and small acts of cooperation flourished. Humans taught the Zethurians unconventional strategies, showing how adaptation and creativity could complement brute strength and precision. Zethurians taught humans disciplined tactics, defensive formations, and energy-based weaponry. The exchange of knowledge was mutual, fostering understanding and respect. As the sun set, Lysara and Elias met once more, this time overlooking a bioluminescent river that glowed faintly in the twilight. The battlefield behind them was quiet, the Shadrach retreating beyond reach, at least for now. "You've changed my world," Lysara said, her voice gentle but firm. "Not just through your actions, but through your spirit. Humans are remarkable. I've seen what leadership and courage truly look like, and it's inspiring." Humans and Zethurians worked together to establish defenses against future threats. They shared knowledge, technology, and strategies. The bond formed in battle strengthened with every shared effort, every problem solved together. Lysara addressed her people one evening from the Sky Citadel. "Today, we honor the bravery of humans and our own warriors. We have faced a great threat and survived. Humanity has earned not only our respect but our recognition as allies. Let this be a new era, a time of cooperation, learning, and shared triumphs." For the first time in the history of their two species, a true alliance had been forged, not through diplomacy alone, but through shared struggle, courage, and understanding. Elias and Lysara spent long hours discussing strategy, planning future explorations, and reflecting on the battles they had endured. Slowly, their bond deepened beyond mutual respect. They shared stories, hopes, and dreams, each learning from the other's perspective. Lysara found herself fascinated not only by Elias' tactical mind, but by his compassion and resilience. Elias admired Lysara's strength, wisdom, and her ability to inspire loyalty and courage. One evening, as they walked along the canyon rim, Lysara spoke quietly. "I once despised humans. I believed you were weak, reckless, and unworthy, but you've proven me wrong in ways I never imagined. You've earned my respect and more. You've shown that strength comes in many forms, and that courage isn't just physical, it's in heart, mind, and action." Humans continued to assist, sharing knowledge, technology, and strategies. Alliances were formed, and trade and exploration plans were set into motion. Lysara and Elias continued to work together, their bond growing stronger with each challenge they faced. The final victory over the Shadrach had done more than secure the planet's safety. It had demonstrated the power of unity, courage, and the indomitable spirit of humanity. Elias had shown that humans were capable of extraordinary feats, earning respect not just through combat, but through intelligence, adaptability, and heart. Lysara, once filled with disdain, now saw the potential in humanity. She had witnessed courage, resilience, and loyalty that rivaled even her own species, and she had come to respect, admire, and perhaps even care for the human commander who had changed everything. As night fell over Zethuria, the stars glittered above like distant promises. The planet was safe for now, and a new era of cooperation had begun. Lysara and Elias stood side by side, looking toward the horizon, knowing that together, humanity and Zethuria could face whatever challenges the galaxy might bring. And in the quiet between the stars, a bond had formed, one forged in battle, strengthened by respect, and touched by the beginnings of something deeper. Humanity had not only survived among the stars but had earned its place, proving that courage, intelligence, and heart could change the course of history. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and mysteries yet to be discovered. But one truth had been made clear. When humans and aliens stood together, united by respect and courage, there was no force they could not face. And so, the tale of the alien princess who once despised humans, and the human who won her respect and admiration in battle, became legend, a story told across worlds to inspire courage, hope, and the belief that even the most unlikely alliances could change the course of history.